Hello internet, and once again welcome back to Top 5 Scary Videos, the channel where the terrifying tales of ancient mysticism are nothing more than a scary bedtime story. As always, I'll be your host Jack Finch, as today we're stepping into the strange and secretive sect of a long lost society in 5 scary ancient cults. Let's begin. We all have that thought how most of the paranormal is somehow pinned to a shadowy ancient society that lurks in the corners of reality, explaining itself through bizarre coded messages and strange, twisted rites of the initiation. The word cult is synonymous with the otherworldly, something that is outside of our specific social safety, a threat to the very fabric of our own world, something that lingers in obscurity, gaining power as it remains hidden. The ancient world is littered with such instances, in some cases just a scrawling of a single word on a cave wall, but in others entire temples and caverns of worship. Kicking off at number 5, we have the Oracle of Delphi. At the very centre of the ancient Greek world is a strange, hidden chasm that has been thought as fuel for the netherworld for thousands of years. On the slopes of Mount Parnassus, underneath the colossal Temple of Apollo, the seeds of the Delphic mystery cult came into fruition. In essence, the Oracle of Delphi was a fortune teller, the high priestess of the temple, known as the Pythia, which in ancient Greek translates as the verb to rot, in reference to the slain, monstrous python at the centre of their belief. The Pythia would sit above a huge chasm deep in the bowels of the temple and breathe in a concoction from the depths below, thought to give her hallucinogenic properties that would induce prophecy. So accurate were her predictions, though, that the Pythia was thought to be the most influential woman in the classical world. Whoever held the title would go on to influence the decisions of Alexander the Great, Croesus, and King Leonidas, just to name a few. Coming in at number 4, we have Mithraism, also known as the Mithraic Mysteries. This ancient Roman cult was centered on the god Mithras, an ancient Persian god which is also tied to the Sanskrit Mitra, a god of the sun. Now, if we're talking the stereotypical aspects of a cult, then this is where it all started. Strange, complex sets of initiations, secret handshakes, and bizarre, ordained meetings in hidden underground temples. You know the stuff. A lot of them are still around today, actually, one of the best preserved being in London, England, of all places. Just a few steps away from the Bank of England is London's Mithraeum, where ancient Roman soldiers would meet in secrecy and whisper the name of their god. But what's so scary about that? You know, sounds harmless enough. Well, these guys were totally obsessed with Mithras slaying the bull and ritualistically reenacted it whenever they got the chance, with live animals and the consumption of flesh. Gradually, this got a little bit out of hand and people became part of the menu. Yep. Cannibalism. Also a little bit scary, but many people believe that the Mithraic cult is still around today, just lurking somewhere in the shadows, probably London. And next at number 3, the cult of Isis. Popping over to ancient Egypt, the phrase death cult doesn't get more death-y than the cult of Isis. Incredibly popular with ancient Grecian and Roman society, the goddess Isis was central in the Old Kingdom's Osiris myth, where her husband, the divine king Osiris, was slain and resurrected by her hand. The mysteries of Isis were strangely popular in the ancient world, where initiates to the cult would undergo elaborate ritual purification before being brought into the innermost part of Isis' temple. The catch, though, was that they had to pledge their mortal soul to the goddess of rebirth. Sounds innocent enough, eh? But this often meant that somewhere, someone along the line was getting ritualistically sacrificed. Never good. Swinging in at number 2, Acherism. We've covered these guys quite regularly in our demon series, but if you didn't know, Acherism is pretty gnarly business. Known as the national cult of the Assyrian people, where the majority of ancient Assyria chose to worship a polytheistic religion with thousands of different gods, similar to that of ancient Babylonia. They shared many creation myths to that of Judaism and Christianity, such as the Great Flood and the Tower of Babel. But what separates Acherism is its fascination with demonism and their willingness to worship. For example, the tale of Lilith, Adam's first wife, who went on to become the demonic queen of the succubi. Although you could argue that this is just in essence a collection of smaller cults, Acherism didn't come into written fruition until after the fall of the Assyrian Empire, where these cults were continued to be worshipped in the surviving city of Assur. This became a melting pot for Asherism, with the cults of Sin, Nikal, Bel, Nabu and Tammuz being twisted into a fervent blend of godhood and demonism. Mass ritualistic sacrifice, stake burnings, cannibalism, it all went down here, and it's not good. And finally, at number 1, the Knights Templar. This wouldn't be an ancient cult list without everybody's favourite shadowy secret society, the Knights Templar. Also known as the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, that's a mouthful, the Knights Templar were a Catholic military order recognised in 1139 by the papal bull of the Holy See. Although records state that the Templar were active until about 1312, the order's main functionality was prominence in Christian finance. They managed a large economic infrastructure throughout the Christian world, developing financial techniques that would later become an early form of banking. In essence, they were the world's first multinational corporation, which has led many people to believe that they're still around to this very day, just in another form. Cue conspiracy music. Their initiation rites are still shrouded in secrecy, where outsiders were discouraged from attending the ceremony over fear of its sensitive nature. This led to the suspicion of medieval inquisitors and eventually the acquisition and execution of over 90% of the order's members who were burned at the stake. Well, what did they discover? Well, no one really knows, but it constituted a pretty harsh response from the church. Well, what do you guys think? Are the Knights Templar still lurking somewhere in the shadows? Speak your mind in the comment box down below. As always, it's been a pleasure making this video for you all, and I hope you've enjoyed it just as much as I have. If you did, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, and why don't you hit the subscribe bell so you can stay up to date with our latest and greatest uploads. You've been watching Top 5 Scary Videos. As always, I've been your host Jack Finch, and until next time, you take it easy.